I know you're frowning. The title is weird, I know. But if you could just give me a moment, I'll explain. I'll have to be fast though. I don't know how close they are. Essentially, I ordered myself on the dark web. I'm a drug user, I'll admit it. Weed is my usual go-to, but I buy that off my friend. If, however, I want to get something a little heavier, like acid or coke, I'll just order it off the dark web. It's surprisingly simple. A few clicks, some Bitcoin transfers, and then boom, I have acid in my P.O. box. But I'm also a curious guy. The dark web has always intrigued me. Up until a few days ago. I'd only been on there to buy drugs off site some of my friends had gave to me. But late one night, I was sober at home, which was a rare thing for me. So, since I was bored, I decided to boot up my Tor browser and try and see what sort of messed up stuff I could find on the dark web. If you've ever been on the dark web, you'll know that you just can't search for red rooms or hitman for hire and get results. No, you have to find links to these websites first. So, I hopped back onto Google again to try and find some links to a messed up website. I know it's weird that I was actively searching for the worst, but as soon as I got on the dark web that night, a sense of morbid curiosity overcame me. Anyway, I spent a little while trying to find some links. Anything that I found though was either too tame for me, or the links didn't work. At this point, I was about ready to give up, and I wish I had. But in one final attempt, I clicked on Reddit, hopping onto r/deepweb. I didn't think I would find anything, and so I just scrolled through hot for about half an hour before sorting my new. And then I found it. One simple text post titled, Slayer's Assassination and Life-Ruining Services. In the text box in the post was what seemed to be just a random assortment of numbers and letters. It took my tired brain a second to figure out what it was, but I realized pretty quickly. It was a link, presumably to a hitman website. And so, I decided to paste the link into my dark web browser, and what do you know, it worked. But before I decided to go any further, I figured I should go back to the OP's profile to see if they had posted any other dark web links. However, when I went back to the post in question, OP's profile was deleted. Weird. Anyway, I reopened my dark web tab and I hopped onto the site. Up along the top of the website was its name, Slayer's Assassination and Life-Ruining Services, and next to it what looked like to be a skull inside of a crosshair. I chuckled when I saw that. The site must be fake. Upon scrolling down, however, I was not disappointed. There was a paragraph of white text on a black background, and a small box to the right of the text that just said, Place an order. The text was the main part though, as it took up most of the page. It read, Slayer's Assassinations and Life-Ruining Services offers everything from acid attack, crippling, blinding, castration, torture, beatings, and a good old death. We have the lowest prices out of any other company running similar services, and we are worldwide. We have a dedicated and experienced group of staff based all over the world. So if you need someone to be assassinated, or maybe you just want them scarred for life, don't hesitate to contact us. Again, I laughed. This had to be satire, right? Hell, I was even tempted to order it on someone just to see what would happen. Ironically, I actually have a half-decent job, so I could afford it too. Better not risk it though, I thought to myself. I was about to close my computer and call it a night when I heard a knock at the door. I live alone, so it was unusual to get visitors, especially this late at night. But when I opened my door, it was just my good buddy Mark, who happened to be my weed plug. As I opened the door, he didn't hesitate to let himself in and shove a big baggie full of pot into my face. "This dude is the best shit I've had in a minute. We gotta try some." I couldn't say no. Cut to a couple hours later. It's early morning and Mark and I are chilling on my couch, both blazed as hell. He suddenly decides to get up, and I assume he's going to get some leftover pizza, but he walks over to my desk and computer. "Slayer's assassinations. Are you gonna kill someone or something?" he mutters. "What?" I reply. "Your computer, dude. It's got some hacker shit on it. It's the dark web, man. Don't mess with it." At this point, I'm still on my couch, half asleep and not paying full attention. However, I sat up pretty fast when he said the words. "Hey man, let's order a hitman on you." I hopped up and I walked over to my PC. Part of my brain was screaming no. What the hell are you doing? But the majority of my brain, which was also the high part, was thinking about how funny it would be to order a hitman on myself. And so I agreed. I did make him get out of my chair though, because I didn't want him seeing what my credit card numbers were as I transferred some Bitcoin. At the end, after I wrote down all my personal details, like my address, age, and even a photo, I had to select what I wanted to happen to me. I just selected plain old assassination, as it was actually cheaper than some of the other things. I could have paid an extra couple grand to be beaten before my death, but even my high brain didn't want to splash the cash too much on my own death. God, this was ridiculous. Anyway, I placed the order and then replied to a confirmation email, and boom, it was done. A couple of clicks and I had ordered myself on the dark web. Mark and I laughed about it for a while, but then he left about an hour later, and I fell asleep not too long after. I woke up around 9 a.m., which meant that I got at least 6 hours of sleep, even if it felt like I got 3. I got up and out of bed, threw on some track pants and a cotton shirt. Yes, I sleep naked. And I brewed myself a cup of coffee before sitting down to play some games and just enjoy my Sunday. You can imagine how shocked I was when I saw that I had ordered my own death the previous night. Even though I thought the site was bullshit, I still felt a pit open up in my stomach. Even when I'm high, I usually can make sensible decisions. I chuckled, not like I could remember it anyway, but I guess Mark's new shit really was good. I would assume a normal human being would do something else, but I was still kind of out of it from the night before, so I just carried on with my day. I was a little more paranoid, sure, but as I said, I just assumed it was bullshit. I even laughed at the email I got from the website, saying that their hitman had been dispatched and was on its way. It was like ordering a package off Amazon. I was tempted to email back and ask for same-day delivery, but I didn't need to ask, because that's exactly what I got. I didn't see it arrive, but around the time that I started to cook myself a shitty dinner, I noticed a blacked-out sedan parked on the other side of the road from my house. I didn't live in a rural area, but there is a lot of trees and bushes between each of the houses on my street, so I would be surprised if any other house saw the car except for me. At this point, I was freaking out. What if the site was real? Even though I'm a big guy, I was freaking out. I don't own any weapons, aside from a slightly larger than average kitchen knife. Screw it, I'm confronting it, I decided. I put on a hoodie and slid the knife into the front pocket, before waltzing out of my house and walking right up to the driver's side window of the vehicle. Even I was astonished at my own courage. Knocking on the window, nothing happened. It was rather anticlimactic. I was fully prepared to have to fight for my life, all because I did something really dumb while I was baked. But like I said, nothing happened. I even put my head right up to the window, as if there was a reflection, to try and get a better look to see what's inside. I could barely see what was inside of the car, but all I could make out were 2 empty seats. No one was even inside. I had got all hyped up for nothing. I decided to wait out by the car for a bit, but after half an hour or so, I was hungry, so I go back inside to take my dinner out of the oven. I swear that it was only a minute between me going inside to take my dinner out of the oven and looking back out of the window and the car being gone. I didn't even hear it go. Guess I'm eating my dinner with all my curtains closed and my doors locked, I muttered to myself. I had just started to calm down when the power shut off. It was sunny outside, and coupled with the car, I now knew that this was the real deal. I had signed my own death warrant. I ran into my upstairs bedroom and I locked the door, and then I hid under the bed. I couldn't call the cops. What would I say? Oh yes, hello sir. Turns out while I was super high, I paid $5,000 for some anonymous hitman to kill me, and now he's arrived. Send an officer ASAP, please and thank you. So I just stayed hiding under my bed, and I still am now. I've been here for an hour now writing this, thinking this as my epitaph. I know I'm screwed. Just a minute ago, I heard my back door slowly creak open. This piece of writing may seem humorous to you, the reader, but in reality, as you read this, I'm under my bed praying to a God that lost all faith in me years ago to spare me, to let me go. I know that won't happen. My bedroom door just opened, and I can see a big pair of black boots. When I heard that my childhood house was being auctioned, I never thought I would miss it or want it to myself, but it turns out that I did. My family used to be terribly poor and my only older sister Susan and I were left. Despite being 10 years older than me, she was still struggling financially, so me buying it seemed like the only rational choice. The house was cheap and I was planning to move there for a while, and buy myself a second house and then move to the other place and make renovations in this one, so I could eventually rent it out to someone else. I'm not sentimental enough to live here for the rest of my life. I just wanted to know that it was still there and not demolished. The idea of giving new life to it so another family could create new memories there made me happy. I had a difficult childhood. It was only me, my mother, and my sister. Susan was a lot older than me, so I saw her as a second motherly figure. A very cranky one at that. She was always annoyed at something, and despite always being in her room, she never seemed to get enough sleep. I consider myself successful and someone that earns a fair amount of money nowadays, and I'm very thrifty, so that's how I'm able to afford buying houses like that. The first day in my new old house was fine. After we had lived there, it actually had another owner that made a 2000 style renovation, so the house was in a good condition, despite being very outdated. During the night, I woke up feeling the bedroom was too hot, so I stretched my arms to reach the ceiling fan switch. That's when I noticed a very small handle on the wall above my head, around 30 centimeters above my mattress. Running my hand along the wall, I noticed a very tiny door, a door that has never been there, and I was sure of it. The bedroom used to be my mother's and she's never had a headboard. I didn't have one now either, and I knew this room like the back of my hand. I pushed the handle and I discovered that the door was unlocked. I heard soft panting. As soon as the door was open, something shuffled inside. I'm scared. It was a young girl's voice, maybe around 8 years old. Can I sleep with you? I agreed, too sleepy to even realize how weird it was. The door didn't lead to another room, but it was like a deep cupboard that could only fit a child in a sitting or crawling position. It probably had the size of a large safe box. I felt the tiny body moving and silently switching to the bed by my side, and I fell asleep immediately after that. By the time I had woken up, she was gone and so was the small new door. But a faint shape in the sheets and warmth indicated that it was likely that somebody had actually been there. I don't have pets and my boyfriend doesn't live with me, so the only logical explanation was that I dreamt the child's existence. The room was very dark and I was too sleepy to open my eyes enough to try to see something. It felt very real, but it couldn't be true. I spent the whole day with a feeling of uneasiness and doubt in the pit of my stomach. I only felt calmer when, after I turned off the lights to go to sleep, I ran my hands through the wall and I found the tiny handle again. This time she didn't say a word. She just quietly leapt into my bed. The weird peace that washed through me as I realized she wasn't a dream immediately put me to sleep. For the next night, we had the same ritual. I opened the door that only showed up during the darkest hours of the night. The child snuggled up into my spare blanket and we both slept like angels. I would only wake up by the morning when she was invariably already gone. The bed always had lingering warmth and slightly messy sheets. I never questioned this. We pretty much never talked, and it didn't feel necessary. Being the daughter of a mother that worked very long shifts and was barely seen around the house, I found this habit quite peaceful. When I was a kid for a while, I used to sneak into my mother's bedroom and quietly go to sleep with her pretty much every night. Not because I was scared, but because I missed her so much, and I knew how tired she was. It was the only moment that we could be together, and no one could imagine how much I cherished it. I did that for quite a long time, until my mother went missing and never came back. Susan was already a legal adult and took care of me the best that she could. I tried so hard to become a big girl, be a good student, and look after myself without help. I hated bothering my sister. She was never mean to me, but even being so young, I knew she probably had a lot on her plate. I couldn't burden her even more. I grew to look forward to my strange encounters with the child that only appeared in the dark. Can I bring my plush rabbit too? The girl asked me one night. Sure, sweetie, I replied. All of our brief conversations were along those lines. I called this girl my tiny ghost. She was probably the ghost of some poor child that Mr. Parenson was too scared to move to the other side. I didn't know what to tell her, but I was glad to at least bring her some comfort. My everyday life stayed the same. I went to work, to the gym, to my boyfriend's house but never slept there, and I had the occasional drink with my friends. Every night I was there for this girl. It didn't cost me anything, but it seemed to make her happy. She was such a good girl, always quiet and respectful of my space. It was never my wish to be a mother, but it really made me think that maybe I'd be good at it. I fully believed in the paranormal, so I never once questioned my sanity. Sometimes I asked myself what would happen if I woke up in the middle of the night and she was still there. Or what would happen if I turned on the lights, but I was too afraid to find out. Maybe it would make her leave forever, not to move on but to suffer. Maybe she would be covered in nasty scars, missing an eye or showing raw flesh in her fragile body. I didn't want that. I wanted to keep this child in my mind as a warm memory. Besides, like magic, whenever she was there I felt groggy and sleepy until after the sun was out. This went on for a long time before I found the perfect house for myself. The negotiations went smoothly, and after finishing the paperwork, I decided to move my stuff little by little. It would give me the opportunity to enjoy a few more days in my inexplicably nostalgic home. I was too tired after a long day of carrying a few boxes, so I ended up staying the night at my new place. This was the first time I didn't sleep in my mother's old room since I had bought my childhood home, and it felt really strange not to open a door in the darkness and have a mysterious but lovely little thing falling asleep beside me. I had supposed that maybe the girl could go wherever I was, as long as I was alone in bed, since she was a ghost. But my theory was wrong. "You didn't come last night," the girl stated. She sounded brokenhearted, but trying to hide it. "I'm so sorry, sweetie. I'm here now." It's okay, she whispered, and snuggled in the bed like usual. After confirming that she couldn't follow me to other places, my curiosity about the tiny door that only showed up at night reemerged, and it wasn't long before it took the best of me. I decided to call my sister and maybe find out more about this house. "Susan, have you heard of the tiny door in Mother's bedroom? In the wall where the bed is." "What the hell, Katie?" Susan sounded shocked. "You know the wall is too thin for the other side, so there's no space to have a closet. You know that." "Sorry to ask," I muttered. "I know it will sound insane, but every night, a small girl comes from the small door that only appears when it's dark, and she asks to sleep with me in my bed." A long silence followed, and then Susan sighed. "Katie, can we meet? We need to talk." I was ready to see my sister snapping at me and calling me crazy, but Susan hugged me tighter than ever. She wasn't the type to show too much affection, let alone through touch. I was both happy and terrified. "You poor girl," she cooed, like I was 5 years old. But it felt nice to have her treat me this way. "Do you remember Mother's funeral?" "Yeah, you decided to hold it after she disappeared," I offered. "No, baby." The first wrinkles around Susan's eyes made her look wise and more amorous. "Mother didn't disappear. She died when you were 8. You blocked this painful memory and told yourself that she was just working too much. But every night she let me sleep with her, Susan." I shrieked, unaccepting of her answer. "Every night you went to her bedroom and asked to lie on the empty bed. You spent the whole time awake telling her about your day, whispering, because you said she was sleeping and couldn't be bothered. And then you got up before morning and went to sleep in your own bed. You have no idea how much it broke my heart. You believed that she was still there for months, and then probably started to remember what had happened. And your coping mechanism made you believe that she had disappeared." Susan said. "I'm so sorry that I didn't take better care of you, that I couldn't afford therapy for you. I was so tired of working 3 jobs to keep the house and just to feed us." Susan was the one working. I rarely saw her because she wasn't home. Mother wasn't there. She had been ill years before, but I truly remember her recovery. I remember so fondly the nights I spent in the safeness of my mother's bed. But it was just a delusion. And I'm so sorry that I bothered you. I was on the verge of crying too. You never bothered me. Sorry if I made you feel like you did. I'm incredibly proud the way that you turned out to be so successful. But I'm also crazy, I squeaked. I don't know how, Katie, Susan continued. But I don't believe you were hallucinating it anymore. There was actually somebody there with you. But this someone wasn't Mother or her ghost. It was your future self.